Welcome to Acts Christian Church, where you're the head and not the tail.
The year of Thanksgiving. Your preacher for today is
Welcome to our Thursday edition of our community engagement. Now, let me tell you something. I am excited who I've got in the studio with me today. Now, look, before I introduce that individual, I want you please to do one thing. Share this platform, this program, and subscribe. You know, it's really encouraging getting some really beautiful texts and emails from you, just telling us just how much you're enjoying these programs. So it's great. And also, the subscription for people coming in and watching us has gone up. Thank you very much. It hasn't been in vain asking you to subscribe to this channel. But as you know, what I try to do on this particular channel is just to make people aware of some great work that is actually being done out in our community. And I'm really proud to have in the studio with me somebody that I've worked with for many years. And you know what? Thank God the day I met him, and this happened through our Apostle Raymond, who introduced me to him. And I thought, well, let's introduce him to the church. No other than Des Stewart from Good to Give.
Well, thank you very much, Bishop, and it's a pleasure for me to be here. In fact, you know, the fact that we've been working together for so long is fantastic, and it's been great in itself. But to sit down here and share this platform with you, and to hopefully try and really enrich the life of, you know, other churches and people within the community, I really look forward to that and appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Des. You know, church and finance is so important. And you know, the day I met the organization yourself, and also Corey as well.
That's my co-partner.
Your co-partner, which, you know, again, such a great balance. And the way you sat with the ministry and help us. As you know, most churches have their full-time minister, but not every church have their full-time in various departments, even in the financial department. But what you offer is just absolutely brilliant. So first and foremost, I've got a series of questions that I want to, you know, bring to you. But just give us a little bit about yourself first, Des.
Okay, no worries. So Des Stewart, who is Des Stewart? Des Stewart is the son of a then pastor, now son of a bishop.
Amen.
So Bishop Deloy Stewart. In fact, we came out of Church of God of Prophecy, old Caribbean sort of, you know, real spiritual church. My mother actually started off as an evangelist. She then went on to, like I say, become a pastor, and now very much a bishop. And what I realized as growing up, so she actually became a pastor when I was 10.
Right.
Okay, my beard may suggest a particular age. I'm not necessarily as old as my beard would suggest. But I remember at 10, and I always remember, and I've spoken about this many times, the challenges that she faced as a minister, in that there was always a lot of work to do, but there were very, very few people to actually do that work. And sometimes no matter how many people you actually had around you, there were only few that would actually come and answer the call. You've been in ministry a long time. Although I know you have a fantastic team that sort of surround you, but it's taken you some time to put that team together.
Yes.
So watching, I always sort of talk about the sort of corridors of power, because my father, my godfather was also a minister, and my mother and other ministers would come together and talk about the challenges and how we're going to overcome this. And it's funny, as I grew, what I realized was that it's not that they didn't always have good people around them, but what they were unable to do was provide tools that those individuals would use. Tools. So what happens is then the people that you have doing some of the work, well, they themselves are not probably formally trained. They're doing the best that they can with what they have. The people who are asking them to do the tasks may not necessarily know the tasks that need to be done. So there's challenges all round. And unfortunately, what happens is people suffer burnout. So,
or the work suffers as well.
And the work
The
suffers.
ministry.
And the work certainly suffers.
I mean, my second question to you: How did you get involved with the Acts Ministries? How did you get connected to us? How did it happen? Can you remember?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to remember. I certainly remember talking to Apostle Raymond. Certainly, I remember having, whether or not it was, I can't remember if we met somewhere or whether or not, but all I know is a meeting was scheduled because we had a conversation and he had said, look, I like what you're saying, but you're going to need to come down and speak to, Bishop Mark, and we just need to. And at that time, I mean, you had sort of like a team that, because I know with you, and one of the things that I've always appreciated about you is that you always refer back to, these are the team that I have.
Yes.
I work with this team. Yes. I don't make decisions without this team.
Exactly.
So if I'm going to be making some decisions, or at least working towards making some decisions, I'm going to sit down with the team and we're going to do it together.
Exactly.
And I remember coming into the building and we went upstairs and we sat around this table, and I think I was there with Corey. Was I there with Corey? I think I was there with Corey.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
you and Corey were there, yes.
And then the rest of the team came in. I thought, when does this team stop?
You see, I do believe in delegation. I do believe in empowering people.
Absolutely. And everyone was around the table, intelligent questions. There's no question that is crap anyway, but really good questions. So you could see that there was things were being thought through. Everyone listened. But that's how we first met. Well, Apostle Raymond set the meeting up. We came down and we spoke.
Well, that's how it happened. But obviously, he just recommended that we work with this organization who knows how to make sure finance could go a bit more further than what we were doing, and plus to bring a professional and an accountability to what we're doing, because as you know, church finance is important. We need to make sure that when we're collecting it from people, we are transparent. And we felt being engaged with yourselves were a way of understanding how our church finance would be accountable, and we can get the very best from it.
Yeah. Well, I think with us, what happened was, and it sort of just goes back maybe a bit to the earlier question, where sort of talking a little bit about myself and also Corey in this instance. Not only have we grown up within the church, so we've seen challenges that churches face, but we also spent a long time within the corporate arena, typically within finance and banking and technology. So for anybody that knows Corey, you know that he's a bit of a nerd, and he loves being in an ivory tower by himself with his computer, and he's a coder, right? So what we realized was that we needed to bring that level of professionalism, to our churches, if you like, and to the charities, and typically at a price that is deemed affordable.
Of course. Yes.
Right. So that was really important, because, like you say, transparency and all those things. There are systems and handling and how you actually handle that is really, really key. That's where the technology part comes in and so on. But just how you interact with each other, how you at the accountability element. We wanted to make sure from a technology point of view that those things there were easily to manage and very transparent.
Okay. I mean, I hope you're hearing this. I mean, that brings me nicely on to, tell me exactly about Good to Give and how you started the business.
Okay. Right. So really interesting, actually. So one day I remember I was sitting down with an accountant friend of mine. And he said something along the lines of, I'm doing gift aid for this particular charity. And I sat there and I looked at what he was doing, and I thought, hold on a second, what you're doing is very manual, first of all. It's, there's no way that I can't see the benefit is that, yes, you're able to get this money back. But some of the challenges that I see you facing are that you're unable to help them to repeat the process comfortably each time, every single time. And if somebody else new comes in,
right,
how are you going to be able to translate all of that good knowledge that you have to this new person to keep it going? And if you're working for multiple people, multiple organizations, how are you going to stay on top of it?
Right.
So I saw all sorts of challenges there. I then looked at, obviously, my experience from growing up in church and understanding the challenges that were faced.
Yeah.
And I said, well, hold on a second. If I'm able to bridge the what I've learned being a corporateer, if you like, in the corporate environment.
Very good. So you've got that inside knowledge.
I've got that inside knowledge. I understand that the churches typically don't have the tools and the systems necessary to actually make this thing really work the way that it needs to.
Let's face it, this is the truth. It was people that just, the secretary, sister, I want you to be the secretary for the ministry. So she would count the money behind us and then take the time and walk down to the bank and bank it in and all that.
Yeah.
Bless their hearts.
Yes. And then that same person on a wet Wednesday night has to come into church and make sure they capture all of the envelopes and all of the declarations, all of the things that allow you to be able to stay on top of the finances.
Yes.
And it's not easy because they have this, something I coin a phrase, which is the work-church life balance. You come to church, you're worshiping with your friends and your members. You're then trying to handle your position, whatever position you have, whether you're an evangelist or you're the treasurer or you're an usher. You got to go home and feed the children.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You've got to. You're trying to multitask as best you can. You need some tools.
How did we do it, man? How did we do it?
God only knows. But what happened was that, so we looked all of this, and what happened was Corey, so we've mentioned his name a few times, he's actually co-founder with me at Good to Give. I remember him saying to me, he said, look, he goes, this is very workable, and I can see a way that our churches are able to actually claw back so much money that has otherwise been lost.
I'm sure we didn't know at the time that we could have clawed back like gift aid from our money, although we were giving it. I think that's why I logged on to the whole of Good to Give, because there were other funds that we could gain from our giving that we weren't tapping in.
Well, I'll come to that. But what happened was he just said, look, there is no way on earth that this is going to be scalable, and for us to be able to maintain the type of basically the way in which the system needed to work. He said, we have to automate. We have to put some, and he loves AI and all of that sort of stuff.
He's the geek. He loves all of that stuff.
So he was able to play to his heart's content, to make sure that what was in place was going to really, really work. And also making sure that no matter who in the church, so if for the next 2 years, this is going to be the treasurer,
yes,
and then that person's going to move office and go, because it's always good to refresh people up. Because one of the things I believe in ministry is that people should move around ministry so that they better have an understanding. I learned that more from my mother anyway.
Yes.
Not only did my mother start as a Sunday school teacher, and then she came out and she was on the road knocking doors and being an evangelist, and then actually going abroad and doing evangelism abroad and so on. Then coming back and then taking on the role of a pastor and so on. It's really important to have played, moved around. So one of the things our services try to cater for is the fact that you're not always going to have the same people in office all of the time, which means you need to be able to spread the knowledge.
And that brings me on beautifully. How long have you now, Good to Give, been working with churches? How long?
Well, we registered as a actual limited company in 2010. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we've been going now. This is literally our 12th year of operation, if you like. But we've been running since 2009. And in 2009, so we didn't just wake up one morning and just start Good to Give. It didn't happen like that. We actually, what we bring to the to our churches and other faith groups, because we don't just work for churches.
I like that.
Yeah, we work for gurudwaras, and we so within the Asian community we work for numerous. We've got even some of our Muslim brothers. We work for some of those temples and organizations. So so we didn't just start 2009. Corey and I actually sat down we sort of looked at the market, and we tried to understand what was required in the market. In actual fact, there was one particular church as a bishop. We went down to his church. Very supportive of us, actually. He didn't actually take us on straight away.
Of course.
I can say that.
I
He didn't
can
take us on.
understand,
Yeah. He didn't take us on straight away because we were new.
Of course.
And I remember sitting down and talking with him. In actual fact, I'm sure you know him, Bishop McPherson.
Oh, wow.
God rest his soul.
Bless him.
Wonderful man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Right.
What a man.
Absolutely. And I sat down with him at that point, a younger man at that point.
Yeah.
Still an older man, but much younger. And we sat down and he looked at what we was doing and he was like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. Yeah, he goes, make some changes to that.
All right.
Yeah, he was really, not only did he sit down and give me the word, which, was what he would do, but he also sat down and he really was intent. It was actually a number of years later. I remember he came, he rang me and he was like, Des, I'd like you to come into the office. And I met with him and some of the family and some of his trustees at that time. Fantastic, man.
You see, when you get those
man.
endorsements from stalwarts like that,
Yeah.
because maybe they know there's an issue, how they can benefit. And I love when ministers of that caliber can think, outside the box.
Yeah.
Give young men like yourselves an opportunity and organization.
He gave
it's
us,
fantastic.
he gave us the time of day. He listened.
That's great.
And he advised, And then later on, he called and said, I think we need you now. And came in, and thankfully it was a lovely engagement. But what I'm saying is we didn't just start just like that. There was research, there was time that went in, there was understanding not only what the faiths need, but also how to actually deliver that. That's why what we have is fit for purpose.
Well, so what would be the key things that you've learned over that period of time with the churches that you said that needs to be, that churches needed to know that we weren't maybe involved in? What have you learned?
Well, to be honest with you, it's numerous and still learning. The reality is that one thing is this: you only know what you know, not what I know. I specialize in gift aid. I specialize in accounting and so on, right? So you may know some stuff, but you won't know everything that I know.
Right.
And so there's many times where I go in and I might sit down and I speak with, ministers or sit and speak with, finance individuals or whatever. Remember, some of these people may not necessarily have had a financial background.
That's it.
They won't necessarily be on the phone to HMRC every single day.
Do you think that's why many of the churches getting a lot of trouble, because maybe they have not the skill set or the idea of how just collecting, banking, they've had no outside knowledge.
Well, let's put it this way. There are churches that certainly get themselves into trouble, but I think and that's typically because they follow some rule, but don't follow it to the letter. So they don't fully understand the way in which it should work, okay?
Break that down. So we're collecting on a weekly basis.
Yes.
And we're banking.
Yes. So typically, if I just said to you from a gift aid point of view, for those who may not necessarily understand and for the benefit of of those who are listening, gift aid is typically a tax efficient means for any charity that you support. You can allow that charity to actually claim 25% of the donation that you have made.
Right.
In order for your charity, so let's say in this case, Acts Ministries, which is a charity which collects its donations, and in essence, your individuals, if I donate £1, then the individual can allow the church to claim 25 pence.
That's not a bad deal.
So the donation actually becomes £1.25. Now, that obviously that individual that's making a donation needs to be a UK income taxpayer, right? So through PAYE or through UK property or whatever it is, money coming in, and if they're not through PAYE, which your workplace is then sending in saying this is the tax that's been paid, then you're doing it through self-assessment and you're saying, hey, this is the amount of money that I've earned throughout the course of this tax year, and this is how much tax I'm going to have to pay. So any individual that meets that qualification, meets that criteria, can allow a charity to claim gift aid. And as such, what the churches then do is they will say, right, I have received this donation. They have to record the donation, so they know the date at which they received the donation, who made that donation, and there's a declaration with that says, I'm happy for this church to claim. Now, what lots of churches, we're talking about those churches or faith groups that may get themselves into a problem, is they've had all of this donation. They can prove they've had the money because the money's sitting in maybe in their bank account. The problem is that they don't necessarily keep the individual notes of each person that has made those donations.
So that moved me right on to the next question. So open this up a bit. What are the areas that the churches struggle with in terms of finance? What have you seen? What are the areas?
I'll give it to you in one area: record keeping. Record keeping. So you imagine every time someone makes a donation, whether that donation is directly into your bank account or that donation is directly maybe cash or whatever, and I've seen this as well, where donations have been made, maybe records, receipt books, they've all been put together. They've not necessarily they've been taken and put to one side, but they may not necessarily be checked thoroughly to make sure that all the information necessary on that donation is there.
So let's come then. So, all right, that's one of the big issues.
Yeah.
So how do you support them in this area?
I'll tell you what also is an issue with that, because not only do you have all of that information, or you have you have some of that data. First, you haven't checked if you have the data correctly noted.
Yes.
Worst case scenario, you have it pushed in the back of it. And in many of our churches, they'll take the information, they'll put it in a drawer somewhere, take it home, put it in a loft, put it in a garage. I'm going to come back to it later. So what they say is,
then you forget.
Even if you forget, if the data when you come back for it is still there, hopefully you stand a chance of being able to work with it. I've seen scenarios where floods or water damage, fire or burglary, or something along those lines, where now the data that remember, this is your data. If you haven't actioned it at the time, you've got a real problem, because you can now no longer go back to it. So all you have is a lump sum of cash which is sitting in the bank to say that I did receive it, but no accountability.
So how do you help us? How do you help the ministries avoid that headache?
Right. So I spoke about Corey and his love of automation and everything else. What we done was we developed a service that allows, no matter what way you have the data, how you have the data, whether we used to have churches with tithing cards, with envelopes, with receipt books, with money going direct into the account. We've even now, as you know, we've brought out the donation app.
Yeah.
The donation app. So individuals can now make the QR codes and things like that, can make donations directly from a mobile app, directly through to the church.
Yes.
All of that information is recorded. We provided scanners, so all churches need to do at the end of every Sunday, and it really doesn't take long at all, put in a batch of envelopes or a batch of whatever it is that you have, bank statements, whatever, and you scan that.
Wow.
Now, the beauty about the scanning is that you no longer now need to worry about whether or not the data is, whether fire, flood, famine, pestilence, whatever it is may happen to those donation envelopes or cards anymore. You don't need to worry about that.
Just scan
them. And the beauty is this. Not only does it comes to us, but it comes to us in 3 different places simultaneously.
Why does it come to 3 different places once it's scanned?
Right. So when it's scanned, we have the data in 3 different data centers so that your data is safe.
Wow.
So if a data center, obviously, unfortunately, you had things like 9/11, things like that, where, it took out whole buildings and stuff like that. So really, really sad. But what that taught the technology industry was that data is key, and that's the only way that you are able to be to fulfill your obligation to say that we have this data and can answer any questions you need to. So for us, what we do is we make sure. And so again, both Corey and I come from a technology background. And so we used to work with what was they call it sort of high availability disaster recovery. That was where we specialized. So we actually specialized in actually moving large scale data across the planet very, very quickly. And making sure that we had it in multiple places, that key individuals within the corporate industry could actually turn up at a site anywhere, and they would have, within seconds of an issue, typically they would have all of their data somewhere else.
I tell you what, there's a video that I thought so beautifully put together. I'm going to take this as a break at this moment. So what we're going to do, we're going to play this. I mean, Lots of information, good to give. You need to get on board with this organization. It's worked for us here at Acts Christian Church, and I'm sure it'll work for you. But look at this ad. You will be blessed by it, and we're going to come straight back. And I'm sure Des will have much more questions and answers to give to us. So watch this ad.
Good to Give was born out of an idea. It's an opportunity to give back.
We've been very successful in business over the years, but we wanted to feel as though we were giving something back to the community.
And also to help with the experience that we've gathered working in the IT industry over a number of years.
The exciting thing we do at Good to Give is the fact that we're actually able to make a difference. I go back to our Christian roots.
We passionately believe that what we're doing is a calling, it's a mission.
It's very much our ministry, and that excites me phenomenally.
There's nobody out there who's really delivering a service in the way that we deliver it.
We specialise in gift aid and ensure that if there is money to be claimed from gift aid, that you are getting that money, whether it is in this current tax period or in previous tax periods.
Everything is very easy to use. When our clients finish receiving their donations, log into their microsite and they'll start to count and process their envelopes through a scanner that we provide.
And we ensure that the donors are also safe, extremely important. And to ensure that whatever is claimed, the maximum is claimed so that that can go back into the church to fulfill and do the great work that our churches do.
Our senior pastor walked up to me and said, "Bishop, I think we found a solution to a better way of financing the ministry." I said, "Well, what was it?" He said, "Some guys from Good to Give." So I set up the meeting, they came, and what I heard was definitely the right way to go.
We're excited about our technology because of the way that it's delivered, things such as handwriting recognition. We also use virtualization to ensure that when we receive the donations into our system, it's automatically saved in 3 places at any one time. So your data's safe with us. Also from the personal touch that we deliver through our staff who are extensively trained.
We can pick up a phone, somebody's always going to be there. They're always going to give us some good ideas of what we need to do to maximize every giving. I believe every single one of them knows what they're doing, and that's the confidence that we have in signing up to Good to Give.
Working with Good to Give is an investment in the client being able to maximize on their gift aid potential in a very short space of time, and certainly within the first year, actually find that they have claimed so much more back from gift aid than they would otherwise have claimed, that they realize the investment and see that the cost pales into insignificance.
I have no problems in recommending to other churches, and as I said before, I have, because it's the only way to go.
Welcome back. Look, we have got in the studio with us Des Stewart from Good to Give, and I want to tell you now, I hope you watched that video. It's changed our finance a lot. It's helped us, and we look forward to all the gift aids that we receive. It's a great package, and I think it also helps churches to focus and also have the accountability for them to move forward. What I want to do is ask Des at this moment, what services can he offer the churches? Des, what are the services that you offer? I know what they are and their benefit, but can you tell the viewers out there what the services that Good to Give offers for their ministries?
Well, I mean, we obviously spent some time talking about gift aid. So gift aid was what we started with when we first came out, because we just realized that the churches just weren't maximizing. Not only were they not claiming, those who were claiming weren't maximizing, which is really important. And that's actually quite a key feature of this particular, the gift aid service, because we help by way of maximization.
Can I open that a little bit? Because people might be thinking, what is gift aid? What is gift aid? Could you open that a little bit for me?
Yeah. I mentioned earlier that gift aid is a tax efficient means of each charity being able to increase its income by up to 25%. Okay, and what the government have provided is they provided charities a way of being able to increase their income, which is every time an individual makes a donation, so a free will donation. That means I'm making a donation to a charity for no benefit of myself. If I'm doing that, that's deemed free will. And based on that, if I've paid tax on the money that I'm making, with which I'm making a donation, the government see it as, well, I'm having no personal benefit. So if you want to benefit the charity that you're giving that money to, we'll also give the tax portion of that money back to the charity.
Listen, if a church is hearing this and gets excited,
Yeah.
are you able to help that church
Absolutely.
to maximize on that gift aid and get that benefit of that 25%?
Absolutely, but that maximization doesn't just stop there. I think sometimes some of the mindsets of some of the churches need to change. I've come across churches who will say that they don't believe that they should be claiming any gift aid back.
Why?
That's a question I have for you, to be fair. You know, give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, but in this case, Caesar has said, I'm actually happy to give some of the taxes that individuals are paying into my coffers back, but to the, not to the individual, back to the charity organization, so that they can do great work.
I mean, come on. Any minister out there would be extremely happy to know that the contribution that's made over the year and a percentage of tax can come back through gift aid back into the ministry. Come on, we've got feeding programs, there's some missions overseas to be funded. So yes, please. And if Good to Give is able to facilitate that.
Yeah, well, I think there's a misnomer out there that if I'm not taking anything back from the government, then in essence, the government or authorities can't come into my church and tell me what my church should or should not be doing.
Isn't that because maybe there is not a order, accountability, and sometimes people worry about whether I'm a charity, because it seems like we've got the charity commissions looking over our backs. But at some form, don't you want that accountability, that type of watchdog? Don't you need that?
Well, look, whether or not you are registered as a charity or not, right? The fact that you are taking public money suggests that any authority, whether it be Charities Commission, because if you are, let's say for instance, you are not registered as a charity, but you are taking donations in to do charitable work, right? Then in essence, if you're not registered as a charity, you are therefore then seen as a company or an individual who is actually taking this money in, and in some way, shape or form, you got to report that to somebody. There is a rule that basically says for any charitable organization or would-be charitable organization that takes in income £5,000 or a penny over, they have to report that to the Charities Commission, and thus you would then need to be a charity.
Yes.
Yeah. Plus, if you say, well, no, we're not charitable, then you are deemed to be a company, in which case you then have to pay corporation tax. And one of the benefits of being a charity is that you don't pay corporation tax, you don't pay rates, or you pay a minimal amount of rates depending on the borough that you're in. And you get all sorts of subsidies, including the ability to actually be able to claim not just gift aid, but even funding, things like that. So one of the benefits.
You're happy when churches can be registered and maximize everything they can to ensure that the furtherance of the ministry moves forward.
Absolutely.
And this is what you can facilitate, and this is what you can set up in the church.
Without question. It doesn't make sense to me for any charitable organization or would-be charitable organization to not actually go and claim gift aid. That money is rightfully yours. Provided the individuals who are making the donations in the first place say, yes, we're happy for you to do so. Bear in mind, gift aid is up to an individual. An individual can say no, and there's no pressure or anything that you can do to an individual. But once an individual happily signs a declaration to say, I'm happy that you can claim on everything I've given, there's no reason for you not to be claiming.
You heard it here, folks. This is what I'm saying. It's so important that we tap into this and understand that there are monies out there that is important, that will be able to benefit your ministries. But it's governance, it's about proper accountability. And that's why, please, I want to be open and honest with you. I thought this would be the best thing to bring an organization like this that is credible, I'll say it again, that is credible, with great working systems to help the churches to maximize even on their finance. And let me tell you as well, this church can also help you set your charity. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Can you get them charity status?
Yeah. It's becoming a lot harder because Charities Commission don't want people to come in here today and be gone tomorrow. So there's a lot more questions that are being asked. And I think you yourself are somebody who has tried to help certain churches in the past to become charities.
Yes.
And subsequently, you know, we've then spoken about it and said, look, this is the direction I think we need to go in. Again, that is something that, we absolutely do. I'll come back to that. Just before we go there, I just wanted to touch back on the gift aids, where we talk about the maximization of gift aid. There is the idea of being able to retrospectively claim. Retrospectively
claim.
So this is claiming on donations that you have had in the past.
Are you telling me that if something could be about 3, 4, 5 years old, I'm able to go back those many years to claim on that accumulative amount of money?
There was a period back in 2012, give or take. There was a period back around, I think it was around 2012, where you could retrospectively claim on donations past 4 years, but since 2012 you can only claim as far as 4 years retrospectively. So this is another thing we really do need to be mindful of. Like I said, so retrospective claiming is claiming on previous years. Now you can only go back as far as 4 years. There was a period quite some time ago where you could have claimed up to 6 years, and the revenue said no, we're only going to allow 4 years. Now that could change. I'm not saying that it's going to change anytime soon.
And get less.
But it could get less.
2 years.
Absolutely. Quite easily.
But you don't know when that's going to happen.
You would never know when that's going to happen. Remember, the government right now are scratching around for money. Everybody's looking for money. I mean, it would probably not be the thing to do because it means a lot of charities would struggle. So I'm sure from a government point of view, it's not something they would look to do in the short term.
But that's why you're telling us about good accountants and good records.
Absolutely.
Because if you have not good records, you can't even think about doing that.
So remember, we spoke before the break about some churches putting records back in a cupboard and so on.
Yeah, water damage, fire damage.
Yeah. If you do manage to go back there and those records are still there, and those records are within the last 4 years, and they've got relevant information that allow us to be able to claim, then we could do retrospective claiming on those donations. And that's great because then there's a nice little lump sum of money that you could look forward to. But the thing is this, retrospective claiming, and I say this all the time, retrospective claiming is an ongoing process. Now, our system makes this very, very easy, right? The way in which it works is this. An individual comes in and they make a donation, say, what are we in, 2022. So an individual comes in and makes a donation today. And I've said, there's Stewart. I've maybe not put my address on it, but I've actually said, I'm happy for you to claim gift aid. And I've ticked the box, right? And I've said I've donated £10, right? And I put that in. Now, when your team see that, they will look at it and they'll go, oh, we've only seen this guy today, but he's not put his address on there, so we actually don't have all the information we need to retrospectively claim, right? Or I might even have just put on there, let's say I put on my donation, I put my postcode. I didn't put anything else. I put my name, my postcode, the date, and the amount. You wouldn't be able to claim on that because you don't have my door number. Right? Okay. You wouldn't be able to claim on that. It's something as pernickety as that, right? So that would go into your envelope pile, okay? Now, there's two ways that our system deals with this, and this is part of the maximization piece. Either we take that donation and we say, well, we don't think we're going to see Des Stewart again. Right. So what we'll do is, because it's under £30, we'll put it in as part of the Gift Aid Small Donation Scheme, which is a second. So you have the primary gift aid source. That scheme? I'll be honest with you, you'd be surprised how many people don't. This is really interesting. And I'll tell you what, and even if people do know about it, they don't know how to apply it. Right, which again is another issue why they don't maximize on even the Gift Aid Small Donation Scheme. So when you put that through, scan it through to our system makes a determination and says, I will run that through the Gift Aid Small Donation Scheme. However, it might look and say, well, we're getting donations from, and this is the other thing. So I always like the idea of parents encouraging young children and so on
bring
to
their Sunday school money.
Bring their Sunday school money. Bring 50p.
Yes.
Bring 20p. But get used to understanding, supporting the charity and the church that you support, and drop that in the offering plate. Right. So if those are being dropped in, and the Gift Aid Small Donation Scheme will capture all of that.
Yes.
So what our donation scheme, the way we manage it, it captures all of that and it takes it up to its maximum over the course of the year. If for some reason, if it's not maximized, and as in we have not utilized all of what we are allowed to, all of the financial limit that we are allowed to in that year, our system will then go back and find that £10 donation that Des Stewart made where it couldn't go through the traditional gift aid scheme, and it will use it to top up so that you can get to your maximum on the Gift Aid Small Donation Scheme. Now with the Gift Aid Small Donation Scheme, you have 2 years retrospective, not 4. However, the plot thickens.
So there's so much money. Listen, if you're watching out here, please, it's not complicated. What we're saying to your Treasury Department is that there may be retrospectively money that you can claim through your gift aid that goes back 2 to 4 years. You need to get it. And I'm saying the facilitation of you getting that is through Good to Give.
And I'll tell you, trying to manage it yourself is not an easy task.
No.
What I hear, some ministers when I've sat down with them, like, well, I've got my team doing it, and to be honest with you, we're happy with what we claim. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And you're doing okay, but you could do so much better. Not only that, you could then utilize your team to do other things to push the ministry in other areas. All right. So I spoke about this £10 donation that we might use on the Gift Aid Small Donation Scheme. But our system might turn around and say, well, hold on a second. We believe that this is going to be maximized just through the odd giving that we get here and there, where somebody has maybe donated, they've put £10 in an envelope and they didn't fill anything out on the envelope.
As they always do.
Right. So therefore you want to try and encourage individuals, and
fill
trust
the
me,
envelope out.
I've been to all sorts of churches up and down the country in various regions, and the best ones are those who take the time before the offering to explain
the envelope, how to fill it out,
and it doesn't take long.
No.
And it also, not only when they explain the fact that, look, it really does go towards helping the ministry in terms of achieving what it needs to achieve.
Yes.
If you are in a position to allow, then the choice is yours, but please fill out your envelopes or whatever the case, or see one of our ushers. It makes such a difference to the claiming capability. Just talking.
I'll tell you what, we're going to go to another commercial break at this moment, and then we're going to come back and kind of round this off. But churches, you just don't want to miss out on this. Claim. You have the right. This system, as you may have seen in the last video, very simple but sophisticated and gets the job done. So please, we will be right back after this commercial.
This is the notices for Acts Christian Church for this week.
Come as you are and feel the blessings of our Lord every Sunday, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at Acts Christian Church, where we provide family worship and an uplifting sermon. Acts Christian Church services are at Falsham Hall, 2 Falsham Road, Thornton Heath, CR7 8LQ. You can also find us on all socials on Acts Christian Church. We look forward to seeing you this Sunday. Come as you are and feel the blessings of our Lord every Sunday, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at Acts Christian Church, where we provide family worship and an uplifting sermon. Acts Christian Church services are at Falsham Hall, 2 Falsham Road, Thornton Heath, CR7 8LQ. You can also find us on all socials on Acts Christian Church.
join the Gospel Train on Saturdays 7 till 10 on vibesfm.net. You'll hear great gospel music from Gospel Kid, the word from our Bishop Mark Nicholson, and the classic sweep from Pastor Lloyd Anthony Hall. The Gospel Train, Saturdays at 7 till 10 a.m. on vibesfm.net.
Welcome back. We are having such a great discussion here because we're talking about, accountability with finance. And I believe, this is my opinion, we're one of the finest organizations here that supports and helps ministries to make sure that there is accountability in claiming the best they can through gift aid, charity status. And I've got Des Stewart in the studio with me at this moment from Good to Give. You need to know about them. Look, we were finishing off about the services, is that right? And the accountants.
Yeah.
And we wanted to know what other services, if you want to continue that you can offer to the churches to ensure that the churches run in their lane and maximize on what they get from their ministries.
Okay, so you touched on earlier, in fact, just before the break, you sort of touched on, the fact that we do help charities to register.
Yes, that is always a big problem with loads of churches that I come in contact with.
Yeah.
They got the greatest will, great vision, but they're not registered.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So I alluded to quite earlier that a little earlier that the Charities Commission have really stepped up the ante in terms of how not just churches, but charities register. You really have to know what it is that you do, how you do it, who's going to do it, the services that you offer. Do you charge for those services? If you don't, how do you maintain a financial stability? There's so many questions, and this is the thing. I don't know if you've ever taken any sort of exam, where the more you answer a question and you don't answer it fully enough, they just go deeper and deeper and deeper into that question to the point where you've completed your registration now, as far as you're concerned, you've submitted the document, and all of a sudden you just get back a fat no, sorry, for these reasons. And that's if they even decide to tell you what the reasons are. They may just say, you do not fit the criteria, you need to seek advice, blah, 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 or whatever the case is. Or, depending on who you get at the Charities Commission, they will, and to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter. They have their own rule book and criteria, and they will come back to you and ask you some questions that dig deep into the soul of your charity or your organization. You really need to have thought it through and understand, why you're there, how you're going to do what you'll do whilst you're there, and make sure you're not going to be just here today and gone tomorrow.
And you, Good to Give.
Yes.
Facilitates helping churches to get charity status.
Specifically churches now. Yeah. We used to be a lot more broad, and we used to help, whether you're going to be a footballing charity, doing, football for young people or whatever it is, or you're going to, whatever the case is. We've helped many an organization on that footing. But now we have decided that what we're going to do is we are purely going to help, because there's so many of our churches that just need the help.
They do, yeah.
But with that, the churches have also got to switch on. One of the challenges I find with our churches in particular is we're not prepared to put the hard yards in. By that, what I mean is we want to set up our charity. Yeah. God has put us has given us a vision. This is what we know He wants us to do. Okay, now the hard work really starts.
When you talk about hard work, let's just break this down. All right, I'm a charity. I'm reaching the poor. I'm doing things overseas. I'm missionary. I'm mission orientated. I'm giving my time. I mean, isn't that enough of a language for them to say to me, yeah, you're worth a charity status?
Right. One of the things, that's a great question, a great way of putting it, because you're right, we're already doing these things. Typically, nobody just wakes up the morning of wanting to start a charity and says, that's it, I'm starting it. Normally, it's a labor of love. It's something that you have been doing for a period of time. You've been putting your own money, sweat, time, tears, you name it.
Yeah.
All right. So you're normally already doing it. You may not be doing everything you want to do, but you're already on the road to doing it. The hard yards is where you have to actually document it. Oh. So we send out a form and we say to our churches, complete the form. And if you see what comes back a lot of the time.
No, tell us what comes back a lot of the time.
Not very much. And then what was happening was then I had my team that would really go through the documents, actually then trying to almost fill gaps. This is then what happens. We're then trying to fill the gaps. Not only do they'll fill out the form, we will then sit with them and we normally give a bit of a consultation. It's normally about 45 minutes, and to be honest with you, it shouldn't even be that long. It should be half an hour. We tend to find ourselves on the phone for an hour and a half.
Wow.
Sometimes much longer, okay? And we're then trying to tease out of them exactly what they do, because we know how detailed these applications need to be. Once we've done that, we then start to try and fill the gaps in. Mm-hmm. So in essence, we're almost writing your application as though we are actually the trustees of your particular organization.
Stop, I get that. I get that. And that must be frustrating, because we don't know what you do. You have to tell us. We don't want to end up telling you. Therefore, I'm really excited about this in a sense, because we want to get it right. Those who wants to be charity registered, what are the foremost steps that we need to get on board with before we even consider turning this wonderful work we do into charity, so that we don't get in a position where we get a rubber stamp saying no?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, right? This is my sort of analogy. If you want people to get behind the vision, you've got to put the vision in black and white.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise,
write it down.
Run with it.
Yeah, because otherwise what happens is if we all just get around a table and you speak to me about your vision, and then I speak to somebody else about your vision, and they speak to somebody else about your vision, the vision is lost.
Television.
Because I'm going to water it down. By the time it gets to that fifth person, they're on board, but they're not on board in the way you wanted them to be on board, because it's not the vision that you had, that God gave you.
Yes.
All right. So for me, it has to, and I don't know what it is, but there is sometimes a challenge. Maybe it's a mental block, or it's just something we don't like to do. We just don't want to sit down and write anything down. That's a real challenge. Get the vision in black and white, make it very clear. And that's what our document, the questionnaire is supposed to do, to help you really tease out. But if you don't spend the time to really go through that and work through it the way in which it needs to be worked through, you've just made the job 4 times, 5 times as hard. Okay. And then where we're filling in the gaps for you, and then
you're interpreting
and in many cases what we're saying is, hey, look, if we were in your position, these are the things we would be doing. So then what happens is the pastor then goes, yeah, sounds good. I like the idea of that. But the reality is that's not what you are actually doing.
I got you.
So we try to say to people, look, stay very close to what you are doing. If there are things that you want to do later, then document that. Yeah. How are you going to do that? So, for instance, somebody might say, well, we do a community exercise where we have the NHS coming in, or no, we deliver maybe health services or things like that. We have counselling. That's a great one. Oh, we do counselling. So I will say to them, oh, you do counselling? Yes, we do counselling. How do you do the counselling? Who does the counselling? Brother Mac from down the road, he comes in and he does the counselling. Is he actually a counsellor? Is he qualified? What area of counselling? Does he charge for his services?
We haven't thought about it. He's just gifted to counsel.
He's just gifted to counsel. No, that's not to suggest that his counsel isn't good.
I hear that. I got that.
But you're dealing with man who's dealing with regulations, who's dealing with safeguarding, things like that, and so you talk through all of that, and then you realize that actually in you talking to the church, not only may the church not necessarily have the right types of individuals in place, they probably don't even have the finance in place to even start some of this stuff.
You see, you're touching some really important issues here. To those listening, you might just say, you know what, I identify here. The scripture says, write the vision, make it plain, then you can run. Absolutely. And I think we need to learn to write and make it clear that organizations like you now might not have to add your 2 pieces in.
We shouldn't have to.
No, It's just corrective measure.
Absolutely.
But we want to run with what's in your heart, in your vision, what God told you, without us diluting it.
Absolutely. Or adding to it.
And
so on. So we...
But you can help.
Yeah. Oh, we have helped. We do continue to help. And the idea for us is we want to work with churches who are very, very keen and progressive, who say, look, right, this is our vision, this is what we want to do. And then to be able to utilize all the other services that we provide in terms of, I'll come on to the accounting service, but certainly the gift aid service, because one of the things that I'm not interested really in setting up charities that don't really wish to utilize the other services, not because I want them to necessarily use my service per se, but because I know what our services provide and are going to help them in terms of longevity, going to help them in terms of record keeping, I'm going to keep them on the straight and narrow. Do you know how many churches we've set up charities for, and we'll receive emails from the Charities Commission saying, you've passed your year end. We haven't received your accounting, your accounting documentation to say that you've published your accounts and so on.
So it stays in the red.
Yeah, and it just goes into the red. And I'm like, and this is, when you say to me about charities and what is maybe what is something that they should be doing, what's the best thing they should be doing? They really have to be serious about the work that they're doing, because you are regulated.
Yes.
Yeah. So there is an expectation that you are going to deliver a set of accounts. There is going to be an expectation that you are going to, update your, any accounting records that need to be done. And all too often, we're so busy getting on with what the vision was supposed to be that we're not even thinking about the accountability to the Charities Commission, which affects you from a funding point of view. It affects you from if you want to go out to the bank and get a loan to get a church van or purchase a building. I mean, we've really got to think about the business of God's business.
We've exhausted every area, and I'm sure there's more. Let's just move on to the accounting.
Yes.
Yes. Let's look at that, the accounting, and also you could just wrap up for us in the area of the volunteers that we have that are trying their utmost best to make the church function. Are they necessary? And can you come in and support them? This is your opportunity. You don't even have to speak to that camera about the importance of what good to give will give to a ministry trying to make headway.
Well, the last of the services, as you just mentioned, is the accounting service. So what we do is we actually provide a platform, okay? And that platform, if you like, is a project management portal with which any of the churches for whom we're doing accounts, they actually get the best of breed of any of the accounting partners that we work with, right? To that end, we have a raft of accounting partners. You can imagine ACCT, all of the financial accreditations at varying levels as well. So what we do is we partner up the church with the best type of accountant for that particular church or charitable organization. So if it's a case where, depending on what your aims and objectives actually are. So you find some churches are just, hey, we've just started, we want to keep our price portion low, which I can understand, because we're dealing with very, very stiff financial times.
Yeah, especially now.
But that doesn't change our obligation.
No.
And some would almost say that austerity means opportunity. So the reality is whilst we are in austere times and whilst things are quite tough, for those of us that think outside of the box, there are great opportunities for us, all right? And that's across the board. So one of the things we do with our accounting process is we provide the platform that our clients use. This is in that we encourage things like, and when we talk about record keeping, we encourage things like getting your statements over to us on a monthly basis, or at least bi-monthly statements. In actual fact, we have a team within that manage that portal, and they're called our service delivery managers. Big shout to Carolyn out there, for those of you that might know her.
Very
right?
good,
she's absolutely wonderful.
Diligent,
absolutely.
Diligent.
Every now and again I have a tussle with her in the office,
she's
but
good.
let me tell you, she always comes out on top.
She's supported us well.
Yeah. But she manages and runs that team. And she basically just stays on top of the clients within the portal to make sure that things are happening the way that they should. Gives us an opportunity to even do little things like this, something I always refer to as course correction. So where clients are sending in information and we're pouring through that information to make sure that it makes sense. If something is coming through to us that doesn't make sense from an accounting point of view, We're then bringing that up with the accounting partner who is managing and running the accounts, performing the year-end accounts documentation for that client, so that conversations then can be had. So we're not allowing things to just happen throughout the whole of the year that may be wrong. Like, for instance, maybe someone using the church card to put petrol in their car, and they're doing personal journeys rather than doing journeys that say I'm going to prison ministry or something along those lines. So we've had to capture those sorts of things before. We also manage payroll and workplace pension and all that kind of stuff.
Good to Give can handle payroll.
Yeah. We pay payroll, workplace pension,
pensions.
actually setting up your PAYE registration.
Good to Give can operate all of those services.
We do all of that
for ministry if they required it.
Yes.
Paying salaries.
Yep. So what we do is we make sure that every month you get your payroll slips. That's also sent to HMRC. We tell you at the end of each month what needs to be paid to HMRC, what needs to be paid to your individual members of staff. And we're doing this for churches up and down the country at the moment.
See, this is what I love. That's why, as I said, I know we'll bring this to a close, but I had to have you here today because what we're trying to avoid is mistakes in our ministries, and provide accountability that even members out there can trust that we have something
it's
important.
I think it's really important for the members, just for the simple fact that first of all, charity registration or being a registered charity means that there is someone that looks over you to make sure that the things you're doing are correct.
Of course.
Yeah. And it just gives them a sense of comfort. So when they know they're making their donations, they know their donations are going exactly where their donations are due to be going.
And that's where I'm sitting. I mean, that moved me on quickly. Well, tell us about your app. I love that. It's a lovely app that you have. Good to Give app.
Yeah. So we have a.
That's technology now, right?
Yeah. We've gone into Corey's arena, and it'd probably be better that he was here explaining it, but I'm going to do my best. We have basically we call it a church app. Okay, it's both on the iStore and on the Play Store.
Good.
Just search for Good to Give. I think Good / Give, and then you'll see both the church and the church app and the member app.
Good.
The church app is for the administrators, so anyone who is signed up to our scheme and we're running gift aid and so on for them, they would utilize the app, and the app works, well, I will say better than any other sort of church app that's out there. Giving you an opportunity to be able to. So the church app, which is, I say, for the administrators, allows them to do things like schedule tasks, say happy birthday to members, maybe talk about particular events, set up events, and also donation slabs that they might want to receive through those events.
And what's your service? What's your service on the app?
You can't watch it, but it's something we'll be talking to you about with all this streaming technology. Hey, right? But certainly what it does do is, whilst you're streaming your services, actually allows you to be able, you can put up there, hey, use this link, go to here, make this donation through the app and so on.
We used it through our Praise-a-thon.
Absolutely, yes.
That was amazing.
Yeah,
it worked
absolutely.
Wonderfully.
Fantastic.
Like Children in Need, but we
absolutely.
did the same thing for the app.
And that's what look, with the I call them the now generation. I'm sure it's a well-coined phrase. They want everything right now. The reality is we know we have to move with the times.
We have to. Yeah.
So that's the church app, which is for the administrators, and then you have the member app. Now, one of the things that we did, remember, we don't just sit down and just do stuff. We actually do research beforehand, and the idea is that we really think about what the churches need, and what we do is you will have members will download the app, but if they want to they want to be able to donate to your church, or they want to be able to participate in all of the functions that the app has to offer.
Or anything like that.
Well, anything that the app has to offer. So you might just be sending out messages, or you might be, there may be other kind of communications that you're having specifically with your members.
Like a WhatsApp group.
Yeah, but it doesn't go out. If someone is not registered as a member,
all right, it won't go to them. Gotcha.
But somebody could download the app, join Acts, and say, I want to be able to make a donation to Acts. And they can make a donation to Acts, but they wouldn't necessarily be able to participate in all of the things that the app has to offer until such time as the administrative team have actually included that person as a member.
I got you.
And it just gives you another level.
Beautiful
because
technology.
with all of the the impropriety just going on with people playing around with people's IDs and this, that, and the other, we just thought we'd have a level of security in there, that makes people comfortable. You know, and again, that was a request that we had from churches that we were talking to as to how they would like the app to offer. And the beautiful thing is this: we do all the development in-house. We have Corey has a full development team and so on. And when we go out talking to our churches about the things that they would like to have incorporated in any new releases, if those things there are something that we believe would benefit the wider church,
beautiful,
then we put those things in there. No, there's no cost.
My closing question to you is, I endorse this message.
Amen.
I know that for a fact. We've been using the system for many years and it's been a blessing to us. I want to look at this camera and say, how can people listening to us today connect with you, connect with Good to Give, to have the same level of service, accountability, and also to maximize on their giving on Sunday morning or whatever the functions may be? So how can the viewers connect with you?
Right, so firstly, go to www.goodtogive.co.uk, which is our website, talks about all of the things we're doing, actually talks about all of the events that we have, and we have lots and lots of webinars. In fact, I'm glad to say that you've joined us on a number of those webinars.
Fantastic, absolutely.
Just sharing the good work and so on, and the good word. But on the screen right now should have all of our social media handles, things like the Instagram or the Facebooks and so on. So please, just take a look at what's on the screen, and by all means, just connect with us, and one of our team will certainly be in touch with you.
Well, look, it's been a pleasure. I think it's important for me to say as well, I want to thank God as well for the team that God's really afforded me with. And I'm really grateful to our Apostle Raymond, who mentioned and said, let's meet with this team. It's been, 10 years?
Yeah,
definitely.
So much so that I'll be honest with you, I actually am a member of your team. I am. And the rest of the Good to Give family. That's how we feel. Yeah.
Well, we're grateful that if we need any help, we pick the phone up and you're there.
Yeah.
It's maximized our giving. It's great seeing people fill the envelopes and the clip that we show. And I think we just show it again before and come back, and we'll close out the clip from Good to Give. I'm confident, I'm endorsing it, that it's helped us to make sure that our governance, our accountability is transparent with everything that we receive. Because our ministry is growing. It's exciting. We're doing missions overseas. And it's good to know that when people do give to this ministry, we are able to claim on the gift aid that would allow the ministry to go a bit further. We'd like to know that, we can have our own building, and it's through the gift aid and the wonderful giving of the people and the accountability of us collecting those funds that will be just perfect why we are where we are today. So I'm endorsing Good to Give. We want you, and we'll come back to you again. I think just watch this clip one more time. There may be people just jumping on midway and miss this, but I think it's very important to know we're dealing with an organization that is really clued up and is cutting edge in the time that we're living here. Okay, so in the time we're living at this moment, we've got an organization that is clued up to ensure that our finance goes the extra mile. Just watch this. We'll come back, wrap up, and we'll go to the next level from there. So just watch this clip.
Good to Give was born out of an idea. It's an opportunity to give back.
We've been very successful in business over the years, but we wanted to feel as though we were giving something back to the community.
And also to help with the experience that we've gathered working in the IT industry over a number of years.
The exciting thing we do at Good to Give is the fact that we're actually able to make a difference. I go back to our Christian roots.
We passionately believe that what we're doing is a calling, it's a mission.
It's very much our ministry, and that excites me phenomenally.
There's nobody out there who's really delivering a service in the way that we deliver it.
We specialise in gift aid and ensure that if there is money to be claimed from gift aid, that you are getting that money, whether it is in this current tax period or in previous tax periods.
Everything is very easy to use. When our clients finish receiving their donations, log into their microsite and they'll start to count and process their envelopes through a scanner that we provide.
And we ensure that the donors are also safe, extremely important. And to ensure that whatever is claimed, the maximum is claimed so that that can go back into the church to fulfill and do the great work that our churches do.
Our senior pastor walked up to me and said, "Bishop, I think we found a solution to a better way of financing the ministry." I said, "Well, what was it?" He said, "Some guys from Good to Give." So I set up the meeting, they came, and what I heard was definitely the right way to go.
We're excited about our technology because of the way that it's delivered, things such as handwriting recognition. We also use virtualization to ensure that when we receive the donations into our system, it's automatically saved in 3 places at any one time. So your data's safe with us. Also from the personal touch that we deliver through our staff who are extensively trained.
We can pick up a phone, somebody's always going to be there. They're always going to give us some good ideas of what we need to do to maximize every giving. I believe every single one of them knows what they're doing, and that's the confidence that we have in signing up to Good to Give.
Working with Good to Give is an investment in the client being able to maximize on their gift aid potential in a very short space of time, and certainly within the first year, actually find that they have claimed so much more back from gift aid than they would otherwise have claimed, that they realize the investment and see that the cost pales into insignificance.
I have no problems in recommending to other churches, and as I said before, I have, because it's the only way to go.
Welcome back. This is our last segment as we close this section. I just wanted you to see that video. Very well put together, and you can see you're dealing with an organization that knows its stuff. We've benefited from it. And if you're watching ministers out there, I want you to realize that this can and will change everything about your finance, and also that you're able to get the maximum that I believe your ministry deserves. I also want to just close off and just say as well, we want to thank the volunteers that, have their ordinary jobs and takes time out to come sort out the church finance. What do you want to say about them? I mean,
listen, no church can run without having, stalwart people.
They're brilliant.
Yeah, the volunteers, they give of themselves without question. What I would say, and it's what I started saying right in the beginning, to get the most out of the people for whom you've sold the vision, you have to give them the right tools with which to work with. And if you give them the right tools, you'll get the right result. Give them the support they need, and that's where we come in.
Well, that's all I'm left to say now is, and I shake your hands, man. Because
it's been a pleasure.
I endorse what Good to Give does. You've seen their social media handles. Please get in touch with Des, his co-founder, Corey, I'm sure, and the wonderful team will support and help your ministry reach its potential financially, gift aid, charity, tools. We're using them and we're maximizing on our giving. Des, thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. People are calling you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And Bishop, when you call, I have to answer the call.
God bless you, man of God. And we pray that God's blessings upon your ministry. I say it's a ministry, that it will bless other ministries.
Amen.
So God bless you. Thanks for joining us today. And I want to thank all that, sticked with us, all those who subscribe to our channel. Trust me, there's more coming, lots more coming. Keep subscribing. We have just jumped up and we're grateful to you. We could never have done that if it wasn't for your diligently watching these community engagement programs. So please continue to subscribe, support us. We are grateful for the way you're supporting this program. And we pray God bless you. And remember, as I said, you are the head and not the tail. God bless you. And I hope today's program has been uplifting to you and direct. Get involved. Get Good to Give. Give them a ring because, as I said, it's good to give. God bless you.
Christian Church, where you're the head and not the tail.